How deeply have you thought about the things that you care about? I don't mean how often do you think about them or how loudly do you talk about them, but how deeply have you thought about them? When I get on social media, on a platform like this, I see people with a lot of views, sometimes very loud and passionate about things, but it seems like those opinions and views sometimes are paper thin. It seems like they haven't thought very deeply about them. They're very easily pierced or would go up like flash paper at the first challenge. You don't want to be that kind of person, right? Certainly not with something as important as your character or your integrity or your behavior or what you put your trust in. That's what today's Advent passage is about. It's from Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. This is the end of what we call the Sermon on the Mount. That's Matthew 5 through 7 is the Sermon on the Mount. This is from the very end, verses 24 and 27 of chapter 7. I'm going to read it just in the CSB for time today. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain fell, the rivers rose, and the winds blew and pounded that house. Yet it didn't collapse because its foundation was on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and doesn't act on them will be like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. The rain fell, the rivers rose, the winds blew and pounded that house. And it collapsed. It collapsed with a great crash. What an ending to a sermon, right? Normally we would read this in two different versions, and then we ask these questions. What does it say about God? What does it say about people? What am I going to do about it? And who am I going to tell about it? This is a process that we call Discovery Bible Study. And what I like about it is instead of me trying to make you think what I think, it gives you a chance to read and sort of discover things on your own. And it allows you to give God an opportunity to give you a revelation. And when you have that revelation in your life, that will eventually lead to a transformation. But the bridge from the revelation to the transformation is obedience, is putting these passages into practice. And that's exactly what Jesus is talking about here. Now, you wouldn't walk across a flimsy bridge, but a bridge that's anchored firm into the bedrock and is big and steady. Like that's a bridge you want to walk across. So I look at this passage and I ask myself, what does this say about God to me today? It says to me that God doesn't keep you from the storm, but he will turn you into someone who can weather the storm. And that's pretty cool. What does it say about people? It says we have to do some hard work to dig down deep. We got to get through that sand and soil and find that bedrock to ask, okay, this thing that I'm putting my trust in, is it going to support me when times get tough? For me, the only thing that's been able to do that 100% is the Word of God. So what am I going to do about it? Well, I got out of my daily reading habit a while back, and I've been getting back in it over the last several months, but with an audio Bible. And that's been good, and it's gotten the habit sort of got some momentum. But I need to sit and read and dig deep. So that's what I'm going to do today. Instead of listening to the Bible, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to read it. I'm going to think deeply about it. What did you discover in today's passage? Put your answers in the comments, and I'll see you tomorrow.